So welcome everybody to this session, which is a repeat session of a session we already did where there were WebEx issues, and therefore we decided to do this again, just to see where we are in the whole scheme of things. So this is part of the Alma Analytics Become an Expert series. We have completed the whole series. And now we're doing section 5 again, which is creating and managing prompts in analytics. This page, just to remind everybody, has all of the recordings from all the sessions. Each session was given 3 times for 3 different time zones: EMEA, Europe, Middle East, Africa, APAC, and the Americas. So you have all the recordings here, links to the recordings, as well as information about what was presented. So you're welcome to come here and view the recordings and other information. And we will be posting the recording of this session as well here. I know everybody has the link to this. However, I will send that out right now in the chat, just in case for whatever reason someone doesn't have it. Although we know most people registered from here, so that means you do have it. Also, I'll send out in the chat what we'll be covering today is all on this page here where it says advanced prompts. This is a page about all different kinds of materials for analytics, filters, functions, dashboards, etc. And today we're on this section here, prompts, and I have sent out the link to that also to everybody. So now that should cover it for our administrative material. And we're ready to begin. If you have questions, comments during the session, feel free to send them in the chat. I'll be checking the chat periodically. You don't have to wait until I stop a certain section or anything. We will, in middle, talk about the questions. So I'm going to go into analytics, access analytics, and we'll make some reports, and then we'll cover those topics that we saw there with the prompts. So let's create a very basic report just to start. So we'll create an analysis, and let's use the physical inventory, physical items. And what we'll do is make a report, and among the fields that will be included, we'll have prompts. So let's say, for example, we want the number of items we have in the repository, and then things which we'll be able to make a prompt on. So for example, we can take the location, which would be the library name and the location name. A question came up in one of the sessions: what is the difference between library name and library name active? So even though that's not related directly to prompts, I will say it, the library name active is only it actually is related to prompts. The library name active, in fact, I'm going to put them both in just so we can see the difference. The library name active is libraries that were not deleted. Library name regular includes many more. Because it also includes all of the deleted libraries, and we added library name active so that the list would only include the real libraries, the libraries that are not deleted. In fact, if I come here and I say filter on library name active, just so we can see what we would get there, I'll click here so we see them all. So we get a list like this. And we'll have more libraries. If we come to just regular library name, this will include ones which have been deleted. And many libraries have a lot of libraries which either they deleted or came through during migration. You can see here, for example, I've got ABER, Acquisition Shared Service Unit, AST Part, BAN, BAPST. That's in the regular library name. But if we go look at library name active filter, we don't have those. I don't have the acquisition service unit. I don't have the BAPST, etc. Okay, so we'll get out the library name. We saw what the difference is there. So right now we have the number of items, the library name, the location name. Let's get the year in there. So we'll say item creation date year, and that should do it for our purposes. And let's say we're going to want the item creation year, and then we're going to want the library, then we're going to want the location, then we're going to want the number of items. And let's save this just so we have an example. So I will save this in the same place we've been saving these, which is in the community where we have examples. So let's put that in. It's under shared folders, community reports, shared reports. And then we're in Analytics Become an Expert 2023. And I'll make a new folder here, and we'll call this Session 5 Prompts. Okay. And we'll call this Physical Inventory Information. Then we'll save it as different names as we go along. Okay, so here's my results. And let's say we want now to make a prompt on the creation year. So we're starting very basic, then we're going to get more advanced as we go. So we come to the prompts. I can actually show this in the presentation as well, how to create a prompt in an analytics report. These are the same presentations that are on the page I showed you. Let's first do it live, then we'll look at the presentation. So when I'm in the prompts tab and I click this plus, I'll have all of the fields under column prompt that are in the report. I can make a prompt on fields that are in the report and also on fields that aren't in the report. I may, for example, not want to include the item creation year in the report, but I may want to prompt on it. If I wanted, for example, now to make a prompt on the LC classification, I could click more columns. I'm going to column prompt more columns. And now I can choose anything else. And I could make a prompt, for example, on something from any other folder. But we'll start by making a prompt on what we already have in the report. So I'm in the prompts tab, I'm clicking the green plus, and under column prompts, let's choose item creation year. We can change the name and say custom label and call it item creation, whatever we want, item creation year. I'll just call it creation year. We know it's item because it's called physical inventory information. So I've changed the name of it. Let's add a description just so we can see later. We'll call it, this is the year that the item was created in Alma. In some cases, it is the migration date. Usually migrations include the item creation year, the original one, but there's all kinds of different situations. Then we'll say, do we want the person to choose the prompt and have it be equal to? For example, he or she will say, I want everything from 2014, or we can say is greater than or equal to. We can say is between, and then the person will choose two different years. We'll start with is equal to, which is usually the case in prompts, although not always. Then we have different ways of the person being able to choose it. A choice list is a list the person will click the down arrow like this and be able to choose. Check boxes, we know what that is, a little box next to the different years, and the person will choose that. Radio buttons mean they can only choose one. That's the nature of a radio button. And we'll talk about these options shortly, but let's leave them for now. So let's save this. Now, a prompt only works when you click open. In other words, I'm going to save this. If we say catalog now, if I say edit, we're not going to see the prompt. We'll just get the results. However, Let's go back to catalog. If I click open, then we get the prompt. So now we have the prompt. So this is creation year. And I will choose, for example, I want 2018. Now I can choose multiple. Let's do something here before that, just so we can keep track of the different types. Right now, my prompt is listed as, in fact, I'm going to put this into a Word document so we'll all have it in an organized way. So right now, this prompt, I'm going to edit this prompt. I can select it and click the pencil in order to edit it. So right now it's a choice list. User input is the choice list. So if we have a choice list, it will look like, let's say, okay, even though we really didn't change anything. We'll say open. So this is the choice list. Someone can come and scroll through and choose whatever he wants. So I'm going to choose 2014 and 2018. And let's put this here so we have a comparison later. So this is the choice list. So I'm choosing 2014 and 2018. Note also, because we're going to do a change later, I don't have an option here to include all values. I would have to manually select each one. So now we'll say, okay. And now I have for 2014, then we scroll through, then I have 2018. So we created a very basic prompt, a useful prompt, but a very basic prompt where the user comes in and chooses the information he wants or she wants. Now let's take a look, edit, and let's start changing this prompt around just a little bit, just so we can see what are the different values. So I'll take this prompt and I'm going to choose under options, include all column values in the choice list. Now, we were able to choose multiples as we have here, 2014 and 2018, because in this prompt, we have enable user to select multiple values. So even if it's not a radio button, which by its very nature, users choose one, we can say even in a choice list like we have now to not allow a user to select multiple values. We also have here enable user to type values. So now we checked include all column values in the choice list. Another little tip, by the way, if you get this screen like I have now and your computer is on a high resolution, you can't reach the OK button on the bottom. So then you need to decrease the resolution a bit. Now we have the OK here. So if you don't see the OK, release the resolution, decrease the resolution, and you'll have it. So now we'll click OK and save. So now if we come and run this, open, now we have an option to do all column values, and then it will be everything, starting with 2011, which is the first year I've got. Also, let's run this again. I can say here, I want 2023. I don't want to start going through the whole list. I just want to type it in. And I can do it that way as well. And the reason we can do it that way as well is if we come to the prompt, I double clicked it. We can select it and click the pencil or double click it. So I was able to type that in because we said enable user to type values. Okay, also, if you notice, I'm going to say catalog one more time and open. I'm not going to fill in anything and just click OK, and I get results. So I didn't even use the prompt. And if we come into the edit one more time and we go to the prompts, I'm going to double click to edit. In the options, there's require user input. So right now, when I just ran that, all I did was click OK because require user input is not selected. I'm going to select the require user input, save, catalog, and open. Now my OK button is disabled. So now we have to have somebody, or somebody has to, the user has to choose some value here. If he doesn't choose a value, he won't be able to do anything, or she won't be able to do anything. All right, that's the very basics, but let's see the other types, because we have that picture of the choice list. So we'll come back into Edit, back to the prompt, double click. Let's choose a text field. Save and open. So now it looks just like this. It's a text field. The person has to be able to type something in, 2022. I believe you can do like that. It's a semicolon between them. Oh, because okay, there we go. 2022, and there we go. Let me try that again. I think I can put two of them in. Let's try that. 2022, 2023, and okay. No, you got to choose one in this case. When you have a text box, it's one. So let's say here, just so we have our complete, when it's a text field, catalog. When it's a text field, open, it looks like this. I'll get a screenshot of that one just like that. So we have, that's the choice list. Then we've got a text box, which looks like that. And these are all in the presentations as well. Let's see also, and by the way, we don't have to run it every time, although it's more realistic, but we can always see on the bottom here what it looks like as well. So I'm going to double click to edit. By the way, you see we have that required there, this green checkbox, because we have the require user input. Notice also, first of all, I'm going to uncheck that. So now I no longer have the required green check mark here. But notice also, when we put text field, it looks like this on the bottom in the options section. And when we had choice list, we have a lot more options. Let's say we want now, I saw a question came in. We'll get to that later when we start. Someone asked, is there a validation on what someone types in? No, there's not. There's not a validation. When it says here text field, someone can theoretically just do that, which of course isn't a year. But we're going to see that you can make different defaults, and if you have it that somebody can't type in their own, I'm going to go back to choice list, then it's not an issue. If we don't check enable user to type values, then he or she will always choose a valid one because he or she is taking it from the pull down. So let's go now. We did text field, we did choice list. Checkboxes is pretty obvious, but let's leave it there. So for checkboxes, we also have the option to do include all column values and also to require user input. I'm not going to require user input, so that's going to look like this, checkboxes. Checkboxes are more popular when there's not a lot of options, because otherwise, stay on page. Otherwise, the user is going to need to scroll all the way through and start checking a lot. But let's take a look. So here we've got the checkbox, which I think is less convenient. Although if it's a small amount, it might be something they want. So now we get 2016, 2018, 2019, and the results. So let's do that one more time. And this is the checkbox. We'll take that with us. And text box. And let's do one more with the radio button. So we'll edit one more time. And back to the prompts. Double click to edit. Let's choose the radio buttons. Oh, we'll do the list box also. List box is also in data visualization. That's a new one in the latest data visualization. So now we got radio buttons. So radio buttons, we don't have here the option of limiting someone to multiple values. I'm going to change this just so we can see the difference here in the bottom section. If I go back to choice list, so one of the options is enable user to select multiple values. But when we change this to radio button, we don't even have an option like that. Because like we said, the very nature of a radio button is that somebody chooses only one value. So now these are radio buttons and I can't choose another one. As soon as I choose a second one, it removes the first one. So now we've got all of them. And there's a lot more to talk about, but that's the very basics. Let's put that in here. So this is radio button. So we have, let's just take a look. We've got the choice list. The choice list is usually the most popular. Then we've got the text box. Then we've got the text box and the radio button. We can also play around with how the prompt appears. Sometimes, let's add the library name just so I have a real example. Sometimes we want to make it wider or change the background or something. So we're going to add another prompt now. So the report will have two prompts. We'll be able to choose the library name and the item creation year. And I'm going to change my report a moment just to say item creation year is not null. So I'll just make a filter here. Item creation year is not null. Okay, and save. All right, so now we want to add the library name. So again, we'll come to prompts. Let's change this back, the item creation year, back to choice list. And you can see here, the default length of it is fine. There's no need to play around with it because it's only 4 digits a year. So now we'll say add column prompt. We'll take the library name. And let's leave it choice list for now. And let's leave the defaults for now. Let's enable that option. And that should do it. Okay. So now we have library name active. And in the more column here, until now, we've been going, when we click the options here, we've stayed in the general tab. Now we're going to go to the more tab. And you can see we can do dynamic where the length of it changes by itself, or we can say how many pixels we want. I'm not going to change anything right now. We'll leave it the way it is. And here on the bottom, we can see how our two prompts are going to appear. I'm going to click this pencil here. And there's different options you can change around here, whether you want the label on the side where it's creation years on the side, or you can choose place the label on top. So now it looks like that. The label is on top instead of next to it. I'm going to change that though so the label is on the side. And let's leave it the way it is. And let's save. And let's run it. So now we'll say open. So now we have them both. And if you recall previously, we added a description here. For the creation year, let's go back just to see that. We added here, for the item creation year, we added this description, which we can also see here. So we see that as a pop-up text when we hover, when we put the mouse on top. So let's say we want 2022, 2023. Oh, I must have chosen that we can only choose. There we go. Only choose one. So let's say 2022. And now the library name. Let's say we want the main library and the library in information science and the library of Chinese studies. Okay. Now, we're going to come later to say, how can we put the values that someone chose on top? Because it might be that somebody chose another library and there simply are none for 2022. So somebody looking at this report might think that for 2022, these libraries were chosen in the prompt. And actually, there were more libraries chosen which maybe don't have anything for 2022. So we can put on top what was chosen in the prompts. Let's stop for a moment, see if there's any more chats than the one I saw. We'll go through the PowerPoint and then we'll start getting a little more involved. So let's say, let me go to the chat. Okay. So the first one we said about the validation when somebody types in the text field. No, somebody can type in whatever they would like. Can we limit only years with content? Let's wait on that because we're going to start getting more advanced, and one of the examples will be years. Someone asked, can you prompt for two different fields and have an or between them instead of an and? Not the way I just showed. You'd have to make another one, another type, but let's wait on it. I'm going to say no, but you can get very complicated and figure something out with that by combining fields. But let's wait on it. Okay. So let's take a look here, make sure we covered everything because we've already used a half hour already. Okay, so we saw what the prompts are. We already know what the prompts are, so we don't need the introduction. We went in the criteria tab, we have 3 reports, and we said that when we do the plus, we click that plus, and under column prompt, we have all of the ones that we already have in the report. And by clicking the more columns, we can get additional fields. Maybe we'll do that, in fact. Oh, here it is, more columns. We'll do that now, more columns. So here, I think we covered everything in here, actually. So we really don't need to show this anymore. We'll save time by moving on. But let's show, if we take this same report, let's say I want in here also the LC classification group 1. So I can create a prompt on that even though it's not in the report. So we can say here, plus, and instead of the column prompt, we'll say more columns, or in addition to the column prompt, we're going to say more columns. Now I'll add in here the LC classifications group 1, and let's do that. And let's also add column prompt, more columns, and let's say we want classification code. And I'll leave all the defaults for that, but I do want to change let's just check what these are. For the creation year, let's say we want to enable the user to select multiple values. For library name, we already have that. So now we added 2 new fields as prompts. In this group 1, we will for sure want to change the name because if somebody just sees group 1, they won't know what it is. So we'll double click, and again, we'll make a custom label, and we'll call this LC classifications group 1. I'll copy it from here. So now we change the name of it. We'll put in a description. This is based on the LC classification in the 852 subfield H, when the first indicator is 0. Okay. We'll just leave my spelling errors. Save catalog. So they're not even going to appear in the results. I'll say I want classification code HQ, because I know I have some examples on that. Let's take BM also, if I've got BM here. Yes. I'll leave the others blank. We didn't do require user input, so the OK button is active. If you recall, in the past, we made one that was require user input. So now I don't even know what was chosen, and I don't even see which ones are HQ and which ones are BM, but I was able to choose them in the font. Excuse me, in the prompt. Okay, let's move on. We've covered the basics of creating the report. I'm going to save this one. And now we'll start getting a little more advanced. And this will start to relate to the questions people asked. So now it might be when there's let's open this up. It might be that when there is a text box, and let's say the name of my library is main library, and maybe the L is lowercase, and somebody types in main library with an uppercase L, this a bit relates to your question, the person about the validation. It's not exactly validation, but it lets the user enter in either case. It doesn't say you enter digits and it needs to be characters, but it does allow for different types of characters to be entered. So in the example here, someone's searching for word from title. And if somebody puts in word from title with computer, in the case here, and there's a capital C, he or she won't find it. So let's add another one here. Let's make a new report, in fact. Let's say create analysis. I saved this one already, so everyone's got it. Let's go to the title subject area. And let's say here, we want the actual title. So we'll get that in the bibliographic details. And we'll say, give me the title. Let's actually take it from the subjects, because the title, we already have a method with the, let's use the subjects. And let's say we want now the MMS ID. Let's put in the title as well, but we'll play around with the subject for our purposes. The title. And let's throw in a field from another column. Let's say number of, well, if we put in the MMS ID, we'll always have a unique one. So let's say number of titles. Okay. That should do it. Now, if somebody were to say here, filter, computer, I'll say contains any. Contains any means it can be anywhere in the title. If I say convert to SQL, we can see that here. It's doing where it's like, and this means any character. So right now, I'm only going to get results with computer in small letters. Here we have it big, but that's because it's finding with this small c. So everywhere here, everyone here will have computer in lowercase. This one, for example, we don't have the word computer in uppercase. The reason we're getting with computers and not just computer is because we have that finds any, which means anything after it. If I were to get rid of this is just a side note. Now I won't get computers. I'll only get computer. And in fact, I get nothing because the whole subject is one long string. So that percent sign is bringing everything after it. The only time we'd get it without that percent sign is if computer was the last one in the whole subject. In any case, and you may remember from a previous session, we were able to separate the subjects. Everywhere there was a semicolon, we made separate columns. That was last week, in fact. So we could do each subject separately. In any case, so right now we're finding all of those that have lowercase computers. And if we come here and we were to change this to a capital C, now we'll get only those with a capital C. Computer here, computer here, computer here. This one, for example, doesn't have lowercase computer in it at all. All right, so let's save this. And let's say we want here prompt by word from subject in titles subject area. Okay. So let's follow the document this time. Last time we didn't follow the document at all. Okay, so what we said, same exact case we're using here. Somebody searches for computer. Let me make this a little larger in case people can't see it. Somebody searches for computer. If you do it with a capital C or a lowercase c, they're going to get different results. So we want to enable the person to be able to search either one. Now I'll explain the theory of it before we actually do it. What we'll do is take the subject and we'll make it lowercase. Then we'll take what the person searches and also make that lowercase. So we're getting a comparison of lowercase to lowercase. That's the theory. Now we'll see how we actually do it. Let me just show one thing here. If I wanted to make this subject be lowercase, let me put another one in just so we can see step by step the theory of what we're doing. I'll add the subject here. And so now we have the subject twice. But here, I can take this one and say edit and make it lowercase. We talked about functions in a previous session. I can come to the function and on that string, make it lower. I can also make it uppercase, but we'll make it lower. So it just puts a lower before it. And I'll call this subjects lowercase. So now it's going to be the same subjects, but lowercase. So we'll have a field like that. And also when the person searches and that when a person puts something in the prompt, it'll also make that lowercase. So it doesn't matter if he or she types computer with a capital C or a lowercase c, it'll become lower behind the scenes. And it will look in this one, which behind the scenes is lowercase. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'll remove that field for now. That was just an example. Okay, and that's what's explained here. It says we can take the input from the user and make it lowercase, and then have it search a lowercase version, in this case of the title, but we'll do it by subject. Okay, here we go. So we're going to add a prompt, and we're going to use something called a presentation variable. This is a really nice feature, by the way. It's not an invention of Alma, it's an invention of the OBI, which Alma uses. So we'll go choose the prompt that we already know how to do. We'll say prompt and column prompt subjects. And actually, no, we're going to do a presentation variable. Hold on. I don't think we need this, but I'm just going to close it. So I'll save it first. We'll just just in case we need it. Okay. I'll call it prompt pictures. All right. We'll choose prompt for presentation variable. So we're going variable prompt, and it's going to be a presentation variable. And here we name it word from title, but we're going to call it something different. So we're adding now a variable prompt. Last time we did column prompt. Now we're doing variable prompt. So I'll call it here. It needs to be one word. So if we really want separate words, we can put a dash or an underline. Word from subject. I'll copy that so I get it later. And just like here, we'll make it a label. Or we'll give it a label so the person will know what it is. I'll say it is not case sensitive because eventually that's what we're going to see. We'll leave it there as text field because the whole point here is someone is typing something. If they were choosing from a pull-down box like we had in the other cases, they wouldn't make a mistake. It would always be the same. So we're going to say text field. I think we already have text field. Yes, okay. And here we've got default text. Everything's fine. We're not going to require a user input, even though in the real world, let's require a user input. So we got text field, default text will require user input. And okay. Great. Now we're going to convert the text that the user enters in the prompt to lowercase and also make, in our case, the subject be lowercase. We saw already how to make the subject be lowercase. So both the prompt text and what the person is searching is going to be lowercase. And this just shows how to make something lowercase, which is what we saw a moment ago. You put lower before it, and then you put it in parentheses, or you can use the function. So let's do that. We'll save this meanwhile. And let's go to the criteria tab. We'll add the subjects again. This we got to get rid of. That was just our example. And let's put in the subjects one more time from the bibliographic details subjects. And we'll make it lowercase. Lower, doesn't matter if this is capital or not capital, like that. Lowercase. So now we've got already this one, and that's what the prompt will be on. Let's go on. Okay, so this we already did. Everything's good. Okay, so now we're going to filter this one to have one be equal to the other. So in order to see the text of how something is, what the SQL needs to be, we're going to do filter and click convert this to SQL. And then we're going to put in the text. So here we go, just like this. So we'll say that this one here, the subject lowercase, filter. Now for this equals, when we're talking about word from, that's like includes, we don't want to say equals, we want to say like, because if we put in now, if the user will put in the word computer now, he or she will get results that's the only word because it's equals. So we're going to say like. Now I'm going to paste here. This is what we got. So now we want to say, it's not ready yet. I just pasted it for the explanation. Now we want to say, this is what the user's putting in. This is the lowercase subject. So we want this to be like whatever the user puts in. And we also want to make this in lowercase. So let's do that. Here. So this is the syntax. We already know you put lower in front of it. We already know the percent signs mean anything. And the variable, it goes after the @ sign and in, I'm not sure the exact word for this. I call them squiggly brackets, curly brackets. In any case, that's the way it goes. So let's put that in and we'll say it's like lower. Then we'll open up the parentheses and we'll say @ sign, first a percent. I think we need these. I could just copy paste, but let's be daring and do it this way. So we've got, it's in the quotations. Then we need the percent @ then the squiggly brackets, then whatever we entered as our presentation variable a moment ago. Then we'll close the squiggly brackets, close the percent sign, or not close the percent sign, but we want also that there can be any character after it. Close the quotes, close the parentheses. That should do it. All right, let's save this. Okay, so we added just like we said here. Now, we don't want to display that lowercase one, but we want to display the real subject. So we can remove it from the columns here. So here we're going to display this subject, but there's no need to display the lowercase one. Let's leave it in for now. We'll get rid of it later just so we can see what's happening step by step. Now we're going to run it and fill in the text either way. Okay, and that's just an explanation about the percent sign. So let's see if it works. Save, catalog. Now, sometimes I'm going to give a little warning here. Sometimes these things that you see there, you need to be very careful how you type the things. By the way, if you're copying and pasting, be careful because a lot of times the copy and paste ruins the quotation marks. It depending on the language of the Windows or something, it makes this kind of quotation mark be something else. So copying and pasting, be careful on the quotes. All right, let's give it a shot and see if it works the first time. We might need to change something. Here we go. So it's called prompt by word from subject and title subject area. I'm going to type here all different ways. And by the way, notice the OK thing is not, I can't click the OK because we said require user input. It's disabled. All right, so we got a mixture of characters there. Okay. Great. So now we've got, this is the subject's lowercase. So now we got a lowercase, an uppercase. This one only has uppercase. So it looks like it's working. We would need to find someone that only has lowercase. If I say Control F, computer, well, then we'll find it in the other one. Oh, yeah, the Control F doesn't do it. We'll have to trust that it really works. You know what? Let's do the word software, because here software is lowercase. So let's look for software. Open. If I look for uppercase software, so Here we go. This one has the word software only once in the whole thing, and it's lowercase. Now let's make it nice and get rid of the display there of the other one, because we don't need the display. We don't need this one. By the way, if we go to the results now, we're going to get nothing. Why are we getting nothing? Because it's looking for this variable. And unless we run the prompt, we can't use the variable. So let's do that again now. Catalog, open. Let's see if there's any subjects with the word libraries. And let's make the final S be capital. Okay, so here it is in a capital. Here it is lowercase. Perfect. The first two have a good example. Here it's only in lowercase. Right here, libraries. Here it's in capital. So for sure it works. Okay, that's a nice feature. Let me see if there's any questions on that one. How does contains any work if you use multiple words? Does it search the words as a phrase or anywhere in the field? It searches it as a phrase. For example, if I were to say now catalog and open, if I were to say here adult fiction, it's doing, it's looking for, let me type it, what it would do. When I did that, it's saying word from subject, like, and then this, meaning anything before, adult, space, not another percent sign, fiction, then anything, and then that. It's a phrase. All of these results will have adult fiction one after the other. Here and here, and this one must have it somewhere. Here it is, right here. Okay, let's see more chats. Okay. So I think we're done with the chats. Okay, let's move on. So we can close this and minimize this. All right, now. Okay, so there are cases where, for example, we had 2004, we had year from item creation year. We may want to have a certain default, or we may want to include certain ones. For example, when we had that year in there, let's put in the year in here. It included all the years, but we may want it to only have the last 3 years, for example, or the last 10 years. So let's take this one here. We're getting that because it's looking for our variable prompt, which we don't have. And let's put in here, I believe we have creation year. Here we are. So let's put in the title creation year here. And let's save this differently. With creation year, it's not exactly defaulted, but let's see. Okay, so now if somebody were to run this, open. So now, oh, we didn't put in the prompt yet. We'll add another prompt here, which will be column prompt, title creation year, and let's just leave the defaults. Save, catalog, open. Okay, so we still got the same word from subject. We've got our description. And so word from subject will be adult fiction. Now, when we choose title creation year, we've got all of these years, and we might not want to include up to 2042. For sure we don't. And maybe we don't even want to go back as far as 1993. So we can change that so it'll only include here certain years. And you can do it not only with years, you can do it with all kinds of fields. For example, with the list of libraries, we can say only give me certain libraries to choose from. Okay, so let's say edit and let's follow our document again. Usually we don't follow the documents. Last time we followed the documents and it was nice. Okay. So in this case, they're doing it with loan date, but we want to, let's just start playing. We want to make it a certain group or even a certain year. We'll have it default. We can have it default to the current year. So we already added our prompt, but here from the column prompt, they're doing it on loan date. They being me one time. I see I spelled librarian wrong here. Okay, so in the operator field, we'll choose is greater than or equal to, and then we'll choose the calendar, then we'll click the triangle next to it. Okay. So we'll say is greater than, well, we can even say is equal to. We can leave ours as equal to. That was, in this example, they wanted the loan date is greater than. So, this is the SQL. Now, let's say we don't know what the SQL is. We can always do a filter, which is going to give us the SQL we want. And then we have it, we can just copy it. So let's say I want, as an example here, the title creation year, filter, let's say is between. Is between, and I'll say it's between 2023. Actually, you need the small one first. 2019 and 2023. And if I say convert this to SQL, now I know what the SQL is. That's just a way of getting the SQL. And I did cancel. So now I know what my SQL is. So we're going to make ours like this one. So we have to do this select, whatever the field is. So let's get this syntax so that we'll already have it ready. We're going to make an SQL and put it in the prompt. And the SQL can really be anything. So we want to say select. I'll write it in different rows so it's clear. So we're going to say select the title creation date, title creation year. That's the name of the field. From whatever the subject area is. So the subject area here is titles. By the way, there's so many ways to do everything. By the way, I could also have said filter is between, and again, 2019, 2023, convert to SQL. And then I could also take the SQLs, by the way, from this advanced tab. So here, see, we have here already the SQL here too. We've got the from titles, so we know that too. So you can also take it from here. In any case, so we're saying select title date from titles where title creation date year is between that and that. So I've got my SQL now. I just followed the same exact pattern as here. Select the field from the name of the subject area where whatever is the SQL of the filter. We saw two ways to get it. One is to do a filter and check the box, convert to SQL. One way is to go to the advanced tab and copy it. So now we have it. Did I copy it here? Yes. Okay, let's go on. So now here, we're going to make the default selection be whatever these SQL results are. So let's come down here. Here. Now, if I'm doing between, in my title creation year, instead of is equal to is in, I'll say is between. Or I can actually leave it. Let's leave it as equal to, and I'll just change my SQL a tad. So under options, under default selection, I'll say SQL results. And let's say I want it to be 2023. So my SQL is going to be select the year from where, instead of like in between, I'm going to say where it's equal to 2023. So instead of this one, which we can do soon, I made it for now, equals 2023. Let me copy it from here just to make sure. Okay, and that should do it. Here we've got SQL default selection is the SQL results. Let's give it a shot. And okay, save. And let me make that a little bigger again. Catalog, open. Great. So again, we've got, I'll just put in here, Libra. Libra is going to give me library, libraries, librarianship. I can actually library. That's enough. Okay, and now it's defaulting to 2023, and I can come, ooh. Oh, this is making it 2023. Okay. And okay. Interesting. Let's go take a look here. Seems to be something stuck. Oh, because Alma, that's why. Okay. So it's probably correct. I'm just logged out. Okay. And we'll go back into analytics. And we'll go to catalog. Let's see the last time I saved it here, what I've got. Prompts. Okay. Select the title from the select the creation year. Okay, so we saved it at the end. That was good. Oh, great. And we've got everything there. So everything looks fantastic. Here we go. Open. LIBR. AR even. Now here it's defaulting, and then I can choose a different one. But it's defaulting to 2023. Okay. And now it'll give me everything with the creation year 2023 that has LIBR in the subject. So that's the way to make a default in the prompts. We're going to do more, but we're going to limit that. Instead of just a default, have a limited selection. But let's see if there's any questions or comments on making the prompt have a default. There's another way to do it without SQL. Let's take a look at that too in a moment. But let me see if there's anything in the chat. Okay, I don't see anything in the chat. It's been quiet for the last 15 minutes. There hasn't been a chat. So I just want to do a check. Everyone's still there? Just say, yes, I'm still with you. Okay, great. Thanks. So another way we could have done it, by the way, if we didn't want to use the SQL, it's nice using the SQL because we're going to see you can use it for other things as well. But I could have taken the year here and made the default selection here be specific values, and then say plus and choose a specific value, and shows in 2023. And let me get rid of that. So now it's a specific value 2023. Again, I'm going to do it from the beginning. I edit. In the default selection, instead of choosing SQL results, you can choose specific values and then choose, I'm going to click the plus, choose whichever value you want. What's the advantage? Let's just do this. And let's say save, and let's say catalog, and let's say open. And now again, it's defaulting to 2023, and I can choose a different one. And I can even leave that other one. No, I have to put something in here. Okay. Who can tell me what's the advantage of doing it with the SQL instead of just choosing the 2023, just because there hasn't been any interaction for 17 minutes now? Who has an idea? What's the advantage of doing it in the SQL when we saw I could just as easily say here, I could just as easily go to options and say, give me specific values. Why should I have to write a whole SQL? Let's see if anyone sent in the chat. Okay, so the advantage of doing it, yeah, SQL is not hard coded. Right, thanks. I don't say people's names in case people are inhibited. So thank you, person, but I want to keep everything anonymous so people aren't inhibited of asking questions. But yes, so for example, I could put in an SQL results and I'll use that same SQL. Let me write it elsewhere so everyone can see. And instead of saying 2023, I'll say current year or title creation year. I could say, actually not 100% sure. I think I would do year of current date. Not sure about where those quotes go, but let's see. If it doesn't work the first time, we'll do it again. Just like life in general. Okay, so let's see if that's going to do it. If not, we'll play a little more. Save, catalog, open. Okay, that didn't do it. Let's see. Hold on. Let's go edit. And if anyone out there knows what I did wrong, feel free to tell me. All right, let's take a look here. So we're going to say options is equal to is in options default selection select title creation year from titles where title creation year equals year of the current date. Let's do it this way. Let's say I want here criteria, the year, filter. Oh, maybe because I got this in here already. Filter, title creation year is equal to is in year of the current date. Okay, we'll leave it like that for now. Oh, no. It's timestamp add SQL TSI year minus nothing from the current date. So it's timestamp add We talked about in one of the previous sessions the different formulas. Then there's a presentation on it. Timestamp add year. Let's just see. Boom. And I will temporarily get rid of this just so we can see our results here. Nope. A year. Oh, I got an extra thing here. Let's go to our presentation here. Okay. This is the presentation we looked at last time. And we're going to get the current year. So equals okay. Year we'll say -0. Title creation year equals oh, because I got all this in here. Okay, let's move on. Because we don't want to use all our time on this. Maybe my copy paste did what I was talking about before. So we're talking about the title creation year, and then we'll move on. Title creation year, in this case, 2 years ago. Okay. And this, what we can do is put in any field and display that here, just to see what it is. Maybe we'll make this a little smaller. We'll say title contains any computer, big C and small c. Oh, okay. It's not giving the year, it's giving a date, as you see in this last column. If we want it to be an actual year, we will say year that. Now that will give the year. Okay, someone sent me in a suggestion. Thank you. We'll take that. There we go. That's giving the actual year. Okay. And thank you, person who wrote in as well. So now we have the SQL. Now we can continue and select year current date from titles. Okay. So we could also say, boom. We could also say here, edit formula. year current date. So this is two ways to get the current year. This way, year current date will always give the current date. When we say -2 or -1 or -0, then we have some flexibility to go backwards as well. So let's go back to where we were now. We will say this we can get rid of. Let's leave those for a moment. So we're saying title creation year. We've got a prompt. We'll go into the year. We'll go into the options. We're in the default selection. And we will say select title creation date, year from titles where. And let's copy what we have. Cancel. We'll start with it. We'll start with this one. Year current date. Okay. Where to equals. Oh, I did year current date before. Okay, it's doing it. We see it on the bottom here. Let's save. Let's put in that other one we have, the other nice one. The one with our variable prompt from the beginning. Okay. So in sum, I know we got complicated. In sum, we have made a default of the year to be the current date. And the advantage of that, I'm going to click open. The advantage of that is next year, it'll automatically be 2024. We don't need to come in and manually change it every year. So now if I choose anything here, compute. So now we have 2023 and subject to this. It's automatically giving us the prompt of the current year. And if somebody doesn't want to use that, they don't need to. Let's get rid of this. I still had that one in there. Save. Catalog. Again, open. It defaults to the current year because we took it from the SQL. We saw there's two ways to copy the SQL. And here, it's putting everything in lowercase. So we have a default year and we have a non-uppercase, lowercase prompt on the word from subject. Okay, sorry that got complicated. That's the very nature of these. In any case, we saw it works. We saw where we can take the SQL from. Let's go on. And thank you, person who sent in some tips. Okay, next. Okay, we actually just did this one now. How to make the report prompt date be the current year using SQL. So we already got ahead of ourselves here. And if I had looked at this, I actually would have been a lot easier. In any case, here's the first way I did it, the -0. Because this one here, when you do it like this, just as a little tip or something, we can make it here, the criteria, here, creation year. Right now, we have the SQL going, it equals the current date, year current date. If we put in this, the timestamp ad that I copied from the PowerPoint, it also gives 2023 as the default, as you see here. However, because we have another value here, minus something, we can also do plus, but I would say -4. So now it's defaulting to 2019. So if we were doing a between, for example, we could have between 2 years ago and the current year. Okay, so we'll skip this one because we did it unintentionally already. How to make it be a specific date, we'll skip that one as well because we already saw how to use the SQL. Here's a nice one. When the values are chosen in the prompt, it's very common that the user will want to have in the results whatever was chosen in the prompts. That way, when they're looking at the results, for maybe they want to print it out or maybe they want to send it off to someone. When I say print it out, I mean export to a file and then maybe send to someone. So on the top, you'll want whatever prompts were chosen. I'm just going to take a sip here, one moment. Okay. So this is similar to the first one we made, items created per year per library name. So let's go back to that one. And let's take a look. So here, we'll close this one. It's saved. You've got all the examples here. Let's take this physical inventory information. I will copy it and I will paste it back in. And I'll call this one more rename. I'll just leave it this one for now. Or let's even, yeah, let's leave it that. So if we say edit here, or let's say open. If I say I chose creation year 19, all values for the Library of Chinese Studies and the Library of Information Science, and the rest I'll leave empty. Okay. Now, I don't know here what was actually chosen. Let's say edit. And let's still save this with a logical name. So I'm going to call this physical inventory information with prompt choices in the results. Okay. Boom. So we want to add somewhere on the top here the whatever the person chose. In this case, I chose the library name and all years. Let's put in the library name here. We removed it before to show that we could make prompts on everything. Okay. And that should do it. I'm going to say here, library name active also is not null. I have very old data in here that went through migrations, so is not null. What is that? Cancel. Is not equal to, is not in, is not null. Okay. Save meanwhile. All right, so let's follow the directions. So again, we're going to make a presentation variable because we're going to take that presentation variable. Last time we used a presentation variable, if you recall, when we filtered, we made the presentation variable lowercase and we made the field lowercase. So they were both lowercase. So the prompt was not case sensitive. Again, we're going to make presentation variables. So when the column prompts are created, click the triangle next to options and set the variable presentation variable. So here, under options, we're going to set the variable presentation variable. Let's do that. And I'm going to go fairly quick. We've got 6 minutes left. These things go very, very fast. So under options, set variable, presentation variable, creation year. I'm going to put these on the side. Then, okay. Then we'll take library name. Again, presentation variable, library name. Let's do it for those. Okay, we'll do it for all of them. And this one, presentation variable. Let me put the library name in there. Ooh. And this one we'll call LC class. And in fact, let's just do the classification. Let's just do the first two. Okay, so we have library name and creation year. I'm just going to do the first two because we have 4 minutes. Doing 2 of them, we'll know how to do 4 of them. Okay, so again, within each prompt, we scroll down here, and when the set variable, we're setting a presentation variable. Last time we made a presentation variable a different way when we converted whatever someone chose to lowercase. Now we're going to display these in something called a narrative. We used a narrative in the past. Let's go on. Okay, so both of those are done. And let's just go in and do it. So in the results, we're going to put in a narrative. A narrative is a way to make different data appear in different ways. So under add a visualization, this icon here, under other views, we'll say narrative. I'm going to move this to the top. Instead of dragging it all the way up, a faster way, a little tip, because I need to scroll all the way up as I drag it, is to just drag it to the side, then go up, and then drag it from the side again to the top, wherever we want it. So now I have the narrative here. First, we'll do it super basic. So we have library, what did we call them? Let's take them from here. I think that's what we called them. So the very basic way to do it, you see on the bottom, I have it many, many times because it's doing it one time for every row in the table. If I say 1 rows to display, now I have it only once. And if I say here, line break, okay, so now I got it on different lines. And if I say at sign before it, last time we also used an at sign, if you remember, we did at sign and we put it in squiggly brackets. So here we're just doing the at signs. And that should already take what we want. But I'll say here, creation year chosen in prompt, colon. And here I'll say library name chosen in prompt. Okay, let's run it. Done. Save. And let's run it. This one, open. Creation year, I will say I want 2022. And I want library name, main library. Great. We're going to make it look much nicer now. So creation year chosen in prop 2022, library name, main library. So everything's good, but let's make it nice now. Catalog. Edit. So we can take this and make it in HTML. I always like to put a paragraph mark at the beginning and the end, just so it's bigger. Then we'll say div align equals left. Okay, and we'll say font size equals 3. And Instead of that, we'll put in a BR and we'll close the font, close the div. I see we're already 1 minute over, but that's fine. And okay, that's it. So, here we'll also put it in the squiggly brackets, which is why we have that little extra thing here, because we didn't put the squiggly brackets. And here too. Let's run it and finish on a positive note. And save, catalog, and open. Let's say I want 2022 and I want main library. Nice. So now we got it on top here. And of course, we can format it all different kinds of ways. Okay, I see we're over the time. So thank you. And we apologize again that our original session had to be rescheduled. So this recording will go to the same page all the other ones are at. Thanks everyone for joining. How many of you, by the way, are using the new interface of the analytics? We have statistics, but I want to know of the people who are here. The new interface that we showed. Let's go into the participants. Okay, a lot of people are saying they are. Okay, great. All right, so it's been nice. Our 8.5 sessions, I'll say 8.5 just because session 5 we did 1.5 times. So thanks, and we'll see everybody soon. Bye-bye, and have a nice day.